Despite living in Japan for more than 24 years, if you asked me where or what was Tsushima before this trip, I couldn't have answered. But here it is. In Japanese, Shima means island, so technically this place is called Tsu Island, but there is no actual meaning in the context of this island's name. Tsushima, as you can see, is directly in the middle of the ocean waters that separate South Korea and Japan, and consequently it has language and cultural influence from both countries. Technically, however, it is part of Japan. In fact, it is considered to be a city in the prefecture of Nagasaki. Before the pandemic, there were direct flights from Tokyo Haneda Airport to Tsushima, but unfortunately All Nippon Airways, ANA, has since terminated that route. Unfortunately, now you can only access the island from Kyushu, specifically Fukuoka Airport, on the southernmost island of the Japan archipelago. Actually, it was not my idea to visit Tsushima. It was a place my son planned to visit for its natural beauty and remoteness, among other reasons. He graduated with an economics degree from a top private university in Japan in the spring and wanted to do something special over the summer holiday season. So, for the sake of a little father and son bonding time, I gladly agreed to accompany him. Besides, there had to be dark skies there, right? It was a long but very comfortable bullet train ride down to the Hakata station in Fukuoka. We both prefer trains to planes whenever possible. And from Fukuoka Airport, we took an island hopper flight to Tsushima Island. Wheels up to wheels down, it takes approximately a half hour on a fairly large propeller plane to cover the 130 kilometers across the ocean waters. Tsushima Airport is a tiny little thing with one gate for departures and one for arrivals. There are usually only 6 flights per day, all domestic routes to Fukuoka Airport. From this Google Earth simulation, you can see that the island is not exactly small, about 70 kilometers long and 15 kilometers wide. It consists of many uninhabited small islands and is completely covered by rugged terrain. The highest mountains here are in the south, the tallest of which is Mount Yatate at 649 meters or 2,130 feet. The most populated area is in the south as well, which is where we stayed on the first night. Technically, the entire island is considered Tsushima City. This is the view from our hotel, the tallest building on the island. Frankly, there are not all that many roads, and in the south area with this rental car, we probably drove around on all of the major roads during the 2 days we were there. The rugged terrain had beautiful streams and some unique island wildlife. Mushroom cultivation seemed to be popular, and I think this is a capture cage for wild boar. Also, along the roads and trails were an uncountable number of artificial beehives for breeding and collecting honey. And the insect life here was remarkable. It was one of the major reasons for the visit, to hunt Kuwagata, or stag beetles. Specifically, the Tsushima Hirata stag beetle lives mostly in groves of oak trees. Here, my son catches the largest beetle of the trip, measuring 72 millimeters from tip to tip. After 8 hours of travel, driving, hiking, and bug hunting, we were exhausted on day one. But my plan was to get up at 3 a.m. to take advantage of the Bortle Class 4 skies. A few hundred meters from the hotel, there was a fairly dark fishing boat dock area where I could get a good view to the east. That night was a 28% waning crescent moon that I wanted to photograph with my Canon EOS R8 camera because of a fairly special conjunction that was happening. Can you recognize it in this video? On this particular night, on this time, the Pleiades asterism was within about 1 degree of the crescent moon, and being two of the brightest objects in the night sky, I thought it would be rather spectacular. It was windy and cloudy, but with only fast-moving low-level clouds, so offering plenty of opportunities to take interesting photographs, some of which I will share here. I did not bring any of my astrophotography gear on this trip other than the Seestar S50 unit. The weather forecast for Tsushima Island indicated substantial cloud cover over the 2 nights we planned to be here, and such was indeed the case on this particular night. The Seestar was unable to calibrate properly due to all the clouds, so it was useless on night 1. However, that early morning, I really enjoyed seeing the moon dancing with Pleiades, and I think that I got some memorable snapshots. The next day, we made sure we had a good local sushi lunch, since the evenings and nights were too full with other activities to take time out for nice dinners. On that second day, we moved a little bit north back toward the airport to check into the Tsushima Grand Hotel for our second night. When exploring nearby the hotel, we discovered a pristine public beach area that was the most unused, beautiful beach with fabulous water that I have ever seen. Truly a Japanese gem and local secret. We splurged a little on the second night's hotel, which had a pretty standard room, but with a beautiful balcony facing the ocean. This place even had a nice onsen, or Japanese hot spring bath facility as well. I used it 3 times in the 12 hours or so that we were there. Interestingly, this resort also has a makeshift Christian-looking chapel for Western-style wedding ceremonies. It is not an actual church. As you can see, on this second day, the skies were blue and mostly clear, and much to my surprise, that held up throughout the evening and night. It allowed me to do some Milky Way imaging in the early night before the moonrise, and my balcony turned out to be the perfect place to set up the camera. I know that maps say that this is a Bortle Class 4 territory, but I suspect it might even be a little lower at my location. I frequently image in Bortle Class 4 territory in Izu and Chiba around Tokyo, but these skies seemed a little darker to me. This is a single frame image, 13-second exposure at ISO 5600 I think. It may be my best single frame Milky Way image ever taken. Since I did not want to walk on the balcony during the Milky Way imaging, I decided to find an alternative place to set up the Seestar unit. There was a large outdoor restaurant seating area on the ground floor, which had minimal lighting at these late hours, so it was perfect for hopping around the skies with my borrowed Seestar S50 telescope unit. Here are a few images that I took that I think turned out pretty well. This is not the original Seestar automated processing. I developed the final stack TIFF file using Graxpert, GIMP, and Topaz denoise. Each photo looks rather amazing for 10, 15, and 20-minute integration times, don't you think? As you may know, Each subframe on Seestar is 10 seconds each. The Iris Nebula image especially appeals to me. The image was taken with the UHC filter switched off. I cannot believe this image is only 20 minutes of data. The best image I could achieve previously in Yokohama under Beetle Class 7 Plus skies is shown here on the left. Amazing, the Seestar image clearly has more depth and detail. One can only conclude that these darker skies, which are 3 to 4 Beetle levels lower, are enough to compensate for any technical inferiority. Sorry, Seestar, no disrespect intended. You are definitely an overachiever. But my classic astrophotography imaging rig employs guiding, EQ tracking, FPL53 glass, and cool DSO cameras. And it costs around 5 times as much. That got me thinking. If Seestar can generate an image of the Iris Nebula like this in Beetle Class 4 skies, I wonder what it would be capable of capturing under the Class 7 Plus skies here of Yokohama. A few weeks later, I generated this image on the left. Again, this was with the UHC filter disengaged, but know that Seestar still has UV IR cut glass built in, I believe. This image on the left was also taken under no moon, so that is not a variable, and both images are 20-minute integration times. I was a bit relieved to see that my classic astrophotography imaging rig can do a better job under the Yokohama skies, with a lot more flexibility and control of parameters too. This is one reason that I have little desire to use the Seestar at my home in Yokohama, but it sure seems to be a great option for traveling to darker skies when I do not want to carry 25 kilograms of equipment or more. In summary, these were my favorite images taken during the 2 nights in Tsushima. Remember, this was not a dedicated astrophotography imaging trip. It was primarily focused on being with my son and prioritizing his hobby interests. However, I am glad that I brought along my camera and the Seestar S50. They easily fit in my backpack for carry-on travel, were perhaps a bit bulky but really did not add much weight. Will I ever go back to Tsushima again? Well, to be honest, I might if ANA reinstates a future direct flight from Tokyo again. The beaches and dark skies in Tsushima are appealing. So is the appeal of sparse population. And there is certainly a lot more nature to explore there. Here in Japan, I am JP Astro Guy. My name is Paul Cheesegel, and you have been watching Astrophotography Japan.